It's a brand new day here on Pastors Game 2, and this is episode number 1 of our Carolina Panthers franchise featuring first round draft pick Bryce Young. This is the team you guys selected as the franchise that we would go on through until Madden 24. So welcome everybody to the franchise. This episode 1 is going to be a preview of the team, of the offense, of the defense, the coach, the schedule. We're going to look at everything that we need to look at for this team. We got to introduce the new coach. The new coach, if you're a fan of the channel, then you know this is an old school coach that we have kept around on the channel. Coach Beaux Jackson, spelled B-E-A-U-X Jackson. Coach Beaux is coming to Carolina to right the ship and see if he can get this team to the Super Bowl. Welcome to the team, Coach Beaux. So glad to see you. Looking good, my friend. Looking good. Okay, so what's going on with the Panthers? Well, before we get into the teams, we know that the Panthers had this is kind of what we're coming in with. We lost Christian McCaffrey last year in the 2022-2023 season. We lost DJ Moore and was able to get the first round draft pick in the trade with Chicago Bears. And so that leaves this team with questions at the quarterback position and questions around identity. We're going to talk about some of the other free agent moves that was made for this team, but the team just doesn't quite know who it is and what it's going to be. We're rebuilding. There's some excitement around the young quarterback. There's some excitement around who exactly and what exactly this team could be. A couple seasons ago, the Panthers were one of the most opportunistic defenses. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were one of the defenses that turned the ball over a lot. They were fast. They were moving around, and so the defense wants to get back to something like that. It didn't look like that last year. It was a serviceable defense, but not anything to be afraid of by any stretch of the imagination. And so that's what we've got. We've got a mixed identity on offense. We got a defense that wants to recover from some of the history that it had and start to change the general momentum from basically getting worse to getting better. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the offensive analysis. We're going to look at the defense. We're going to kind of look at some of our conference opponents. We're going to break down things position by position, look at our draft situation, some salary stuff, check out the schedule. And then at the end of the video, we're going to do some setting reviews. So I hope you guys are strapped in for this video. If you are a fan of what we're doing and would like to support the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps us as we move toward that 1,000 mark. But anyway, all right. So on the offense, we're going to look at let's take a look at some of the key players that we saw on the offensive side of the ball. Some of the key players that we see, obviously, is the young quarterback Bryce Young. Bryce Young shows up and he's got a little bit of everything. This cat is a good thrower, has good throw power, and not bad deep accuracy. It's certainly something to build on for a rookie. 84 speed, able to get out of the pocket pretty well. And able to change direction fairly well. So this is going to be really interesting to see just what kind of player he's going to be. Can he really take this offense to the next level? We gave up a bunch to get Bryce Young, and so we got to figure out, like, is he going to live up to the expectations on this team? The backup for Bryce Young in the quarterback position is Andy Dalton, and Andy is barely serviceable. You see, he's a 73 overall, and he's there pretty much to play the mentoring role, which we can do. Not sure we want to reproduce Andy Dalton in Bryce Young, but he certainly can give him some NFL advice and savvy. He's got a decent arm. And so we don't know yet whether we're going to throw the ball down the field or not. Is it going to be a deep kind of a game? Is it going to be short? We're still going to figure that part out. Next up is Miles Sanders, and Miles Sanders comes over from Philly. Miles Sanders is pretty much one of those players that felt like a good player. Hasn't really had his breakout yet. He had a really good had a good stint in Philly, and he's looking to come here and really make a name for himself. Really take his career to the next level. He's a solid all-purpose back. We love his speed, 91 speed overall, a 78 stiff arm, but an 85 break tackle and an 87 juke move. So a little bit of, he has a little bit of both. He can run you over. He looks like he's got a little bit of trucking that we might be able to work on, and he's got the juke move and the spin move. So a decent player to run with by no stretch of the imagination. Not a guy who we can't. That we can't build around, and he's got 3 years on his contract. So that means that we ought to be able to determine in those 3 years whether he's going to be the long-term fit for this team or not. Moving on to the wide receiver situation, Adam Thielen comes over from the Minnesota Vikings, and Adam Thielen is just what you think. He's a solid receiver, mentor player. He's the best rated receiver on our team, and does everything well. So I think we might get 1 or 2 really good years out of him. Maybe this first year is going to be good, but we're probably going to be looking to either bring up some of the young players or draft a stud if we can find one for the wide receiver position. We'll see. We may have Thielen for 2 years. He's rated, he's got the 89, he's 85 overall, he's got the 89 speed, which is not a burner. Really kind of fits like a 2 instead of a number 1. So we'll see what happens with Adam Thielen, but certainly one of the better players for our team. And then lastly on the receiver side, we're going to talk about DJ Chark. Again, these are just kind of some of the key offensive players. Chark brings the 94 speed, and now that's the burner that we're looking for. But look at those routes. He's not a killer route runner, able to catch in traffic, has a high jumping ability. I think these guys 6'4", so he's 6'4" with a high jumping ability and spectacular catch. Feels like we can throw the ball deep with him, in the 94 could be someone that we can develop into a stud. He could be the number 1 receiver, and Thielen could be the number 2, despite the fact that they're 77 and 85 in their ratings. But DJ Chark is a solid player. He's in a contract year, and so this year he'll be up for free agency potentially if he doesn't want to return. So that means DJ Chark may be motivated to go ahead, have a huge year, and see if he can get his money in the free agency. And then lastly, we have the huge player, probably the most expensive player on our team. We'll talk more about it later. Is Taylor Moton. Taylor Moton is the right tackle, and he really is the best thing about our offensive line. He is 88 strength, 86. Again, not an amazing. He's just 84 overall. But he is the top 10. He is the number 7 ranked right tackle in the game. So he's a top 10 right tackle. He leads a very thin offensive line that we'll see later in this video. That's bound to break down. So we have got a lot of work to do on the offensive line. Taylor Moton is the player who, I think it's Moton. I don't know. I'll figure out. I'm saying Moton. So until someone fixes it for me, then that's what we're going to call him. But he is, he's going to be a key need, man. We hope he stays healthy. Injuries 99. So we hope he stays healthy because we're going to need him on that right tackle. Otherwise, our offense is just going to have our quarterback, Bryce, is going to be running for his life. So some key defensive players on our team. First off is Brian. Let's see, who is it? Brian Burns. Brian Burns, probably the best rated player on our team. 88 overall, 6'5", left end with long arms and an ability to chase down the quarterback. He's got 89 speed. which is insane for an end to have, which means that if he's able to shed the block and get around his player, he should be able to get to that quarterback. Could be a guy that really fills in the kind of Max Crosby vibe that we usually have with the Raiders. And so I'm happy to see that. We like to try to get pressure on the quarterback, and it looks like Brian Burns is a player that could try to do that. Number 2 ranked left end in the league. An amazing player for us, and probably the top defensive player again for us. Next player we want to look at is defensive tackle. Next player we want to look at is defensive tackle Derek Brown. And Derek Brown, another 6'5" player, long arms, 94 strength, 85 overall. He is another good addition to the defensive line, hoping that this defense may be the best thing about the team, the most reliable thing about the team. And Derek Brown will play a huge piece in that. Clogs up the middle, 320 pounds, 24 years old, a solid piece to developing a long-term defensive strategy. Derek Brown, we hope, will be a Panther for a very, very long time. And then the other player we want to look at on defense is Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson is, again, the best linebacker we have, probably the only really serviceable linebacker that we have. He's an 84 overall player with 84 speed, and as you know, my style of linebacker is the coverage style. We want fast linebackers who can cover. So we want them to be able to hit. We want them to be able to slow down the tight ends and the running backs when they go running out into their routes. And so he's got a 69 zone coverage and a 62 man coverage, which is not bad for a linebacker when it comes to coverage. Looking forward to see how he's going to do here. He's got a decent tackle as well with 87. And so I like all of those traits. Definitely going to be the person that anchors our team. Could end up in a different position than the right side. We may end up putting him in the middle, but we will see. We may put him in the middle linebacker position. Moving on to more on the defensive side, we've got the cornerbacks to look at, and that's going to be J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn is 6'1" and 22 years old. Definitely a player that we could begin to build around. Only 79 and 79 in zone coverage, but 92 in speed. Rated 80 overall. Looking for him to definitely progress. That's not a bad rating for a 1-year player. Really, it's a 2-year player for us at this moment. He's got good speed. Really is a solid cornerback for us. Maybe the guy that we use on some of the better receivers that we have to go up against, particularly in New Orleans, where we have to face off against Derek Carr and I forget the receiver, Michael something or another. I can't remember his name. Another cornerback that we have that will be a solid fit for us is Deontay Jackson. Deontay Jackson is just a speedy guy. He's too short. He probably shouldn't be the top guy, but 95 and 5'10" makes him a great nickel cornerback, and so we'll look to see him in that space pretty soon. And then the last thing we want to look at on the defensive side is generally the strong safety. The strong safety is one of the few places where we have some real depth. So we have Von Bell, who is, he's got 87 speed. He's not great for man coverage. 85 hit power. Looks a lot like, honestly, looks a lot like a middle linebacker or not just a linebacker of some sort that we may want to try him out at. We might do that with him. Again, he's a 5'11" is relatively short, especially for playing the deep ball. 87 is not that fast for a strong safety, but is a great number for the linebacker. And of course, we got the man coverage there. So Von Bell could get some work at the linebacker position. We'll see. And the reason we can consider Von Bell for linebacker is because we have another pretty good strong safety on our team, Jeremy Chin. Jeremy is 24 years old, and Jeremy, as the younger prospect, has much better speed, 93. He's a taller player. He's 6'3". His zone and his man coverage is not that much better. His zone is better, but his man coverage is not. But again, if we're going to develop someone, he seems like the guy we'd want to develop in the strong safety position. And so that would move Bell to a support role, which is kind of a waste, especially on a team that needs solid defenders. And so, like I said, one of those guys are likely going to end up on the linebacker core. And, we will just have to see what they do. And so that's going to wrap up just some highlights from the key players. Again, we'll go through some of the players piece by piece, some of the positions piece by piece. But that gives you a little bit of a preview of the offense and the defense. So we got some decent pieces, nothing scary, lots of question marks, lots of game planning still yet to do. And so I think that makes it really exciting. Let's take a look at some of our division matchups. So our division is not that scary. We have in our division the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we go down here to the Buccaneers, take a look at their team. You see some of their best players here. Right tackle, middle linebacker, Lavonte Davis is a key player, and they've got two really great receivers. But what they don't have for those receivers is a great quarterback. If you look at their quarterback situation, Baker Mayfield is who is over there, but he's not rated that well, and we'll see what we do with him. But this team seems to be in a rebuilding state, like we are, and therefore not too scary. So this is one of the benefits, I think, for being with the Panthers, because coming from the AFC West, where every team definitely had an opportunity to be good, this division does not seem to be very scary at all, with the exception to this team right here, and that's the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are the clear favorites of our division. Marshawn Lattimore leads a decent defense with Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu on the defense. They've got Cam Jordan over there on the defense, and they're good at every level. They've got someone solid at every level. And then on the offensive side, we already know about Alvin Kamara. We know about Michael Thomas. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Michael Thomas. They've got Olave. And even though the quarterback, Derek Carr, is not the top rated one, with those weapons, Derek Carr could end up being a solid player for them and really move it forward. So this team, probably the best team in the division. We expect to lose probably a few games to them. I don't know. We're probably going to lose to all kind of people. Okay, and then the last team to look at is the Atlanta Falcons. They are in our division, and again, another team not too scary. They look like they've got some decent defensive pieces with Kalai Campbell and Grady Jarrett, both in the 85 and up club on the defensive side, along with Jesse Bates. Young players, with exception to Kalai Campbell. And they also have AJ Terrell. So they look like they have some decent defense, but after that defense, they've got Cordarrelle Patterson for offense and Kyle Pitts, and then it just really drops from there. The team just goes into the under 80 territory with solid players, a team that's clearly rebuilding and looking for their next best star to take them over the hump. So that wraps up the division. It's the Falcons, it's the Saints, it's the Bucks, and they are not too scary. We have an opportunity to move forward, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We may need draft picks, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so now let's take a look at the roster, sort of position by position. We're just going to kind of look at this and see what we're going to do, what we have on our team, and kind of some more key observations outside of some of the key players that we saw. So obviously with the quarterback position, we've got Bryce Young, the young quarterback. We saw him earlier, 84 speed, 86, 93 throw power, and 84 throw accuracy means that we might be able to throw the ball a little deep. The thing about Bryce is that he's 5'10". He's a short receiver, a short quarterback who may have some trouble seeing the field. Don't know if we're looking at a kind of, well, we'll see. Bryce Young is that. Talks about Andy Dalton. Now, Matt Carroll, though, is not a bad prospect. He's 23 years old, and he's got the same speed as Bryce Young. He's also a little bit, it looks like he's a little faster, a little more agile, a little stronger. What he doesn't have is the awareness, but he's close on throw power, and the accuracy is a little down as well. But at the end of the day, I think Matt Carroll might be the true backup. Andy Dalton may be the guy that just completely comes off the bench. We don't expect to see Andy Dalton at all. And maybe releasing Andy Dalton before the year is done, where we just have a backfield of Bryce Young and Matt Carroll there to keep some continuity in how the offense runs, since they look like the same type of quarterback. Here's the halfbacks that we have. We talked about Miles Sanders. We see Chuba Hubbard, who is a decent player for the money. Not bad. Could be a decent backup. We pretty much think Miles Sanders is going to be our bell cow. Chuba Hubbard has 1 year left on his contract. We may be looking at letting him go. And we've got the rookie Raheem Blackshear coming from Virginia Tech. He's 5'9", pretty short, decent speed, but decent break and tackle as well. And he may be the guy again that we do use as a backup. We might keep all three of these players just for the depth of it, but it's possible that we trade Hubbard. Hubbard is a potential trade block guy. There's the fullback, you know that guy. Okay, so we talked about Adam Thielen, Chark. We do have Laviska Shenault on this team, the former Jacksonville Jaguar. Shenault is probably not going to stay on this team. He's the slowest of the players that we have. He's 23 years old, which makes him a decent trade target at 23 years old and 75 overall. Can go to some team and help them out, but we really kind of want to make room. I'm very interested in this guy, Terrace Marshall. He's 6'3". He's got 91 speed. He's a little bit taller, has good catch, has good special catch. Feels like a person who could move up into that third spot, maybe the second spot, and give him a chance to make this team and make this starting group, especially with Thielen on his way out. It could end up being that we go with Thielen, Marshall, and then DJ Chark in the slot. Not DJ Chark, sorry. We may be going Thielen, Chark. Wait a minute, what am I trying to say here? I think we might go Thielen, Chark, and Marshall up in the top here. We may actually move Chark to the slot position. So Chark may go to the 3 spot. Marshall would go to the 2 spot. Shenault is gone. And then we also kind of like this Mingo character. It looks like, again, another young player, solid young player that could break out for us. We just don't know. We drafted him this year. Mingo has a solid skills, Good release. I think maybe he could be a guy. Good catch in traffic. He might be a guy that's worth giving a look. So very interested in these younger players. Probably going to move Chenault. Maybe even going to move Bird as well. Get rid of both of these players and move these two players up. See if they can make give them a chance to make a name for themselves on this. The tight end, really love Hayden Hurst. Hurst seems like a solid player, 87 overall, solid catching, 94, more than solid, excellent catching. Should be a nice safety valve for the young quarterback. The other ones are just okay, but not bad. Ian Thomas is a solid player, and then we got Trimble. We'll probably keep all three of these tight ends at this point. All three of them seem like they're able to contribute to the offense nicely. And here's where it gets kind of weak, man. The left tackle, we only have one. We need to fill that in with Akeem Ekwonu. He's the only one there, and he's not great, although he's a young player, so rookie player that can come in and hopefully protect the quarterback. If we can get this offensive line to play well and get them to progress, that'll be nice. We also have Braden Christensen here, 73 overall, another young player. Again, this is the rebuild stage, and so we've got young players everywhere. Here we got Brady Christensen. We've got Chandler Zavala there, who's rookie, and he's 68 overall. Justin McCray may not make the team, or we may move him to left tackle to play the back, to be a backup for Ekwonu, which he won't be greatly rated for, but we'll see. Bradley Bozeman is 73 overall and an older guy. We may be looking to fill this center role with someone else, maybe from free agency if we can find something, or I don't know. We're struggling on the offensive line. Charbet is a solid player for us, 81, 26, a good player to stick around with, and Madden. So the right side is much better, but there's not a lot of depth on this offensive line. We got one guy there. We only have one center. We got two here, so maybe one of these bounces over to the right guard or to right tackle. But we've got some work to do on the offensive line for sure. Looking at the left end, we've got Brian Burns, and Burns is a solid player. We talked about him already. And then we've got another rookie, or second year guy really, Amari Barno. Doesn't look amazing, so hopefully we have Barnes in for most of the time. We don't have a lot of depth at our better positions, so we really need these guys to stay healthy for most of the time, which means, I don't know what, that might mean we curb some of our training stuff. On the right end, we have Gross Matos and Gross Matos. We'll see how they say that. Another young player, 84 overall. But look at these guys, 84 speed. One of the things I really like about our team is that we've got fast players everywhere. I mean, look, Brian Burns is an 89 speed. Barno is a 92 speed as a rookie. We may end up moving Barno to a different, let me look at him actually. We may move him to something different altogether. He doesn't have power moves. He really doesn't deserve to be on the line. He could just be a strong linebacker. Good pursuit, good hit power. We may move him to linebacker with that speed. He's terrible at, they don't even show his, his coverage, but that's interesting. We may move him with that 92 speed, and then on the right end we've got 84 speed, which is serviceable. Not serviceable, that's great for a right end. So that's very interesting. Let's keep going here. Okay, so we've got defensive tackle. We talked about Derek Brown, but one of these guys might be able to move to left end. and free up that left end to go to maybe left outside linebacker. That could be interesting to see. But Brown is here, and the rest of these players, we probably can go ahead and cut Mark Hall. We'll go ahead and release him. Doesn't seem like a guy that we're gonna do anything with. But yeah, we can keep 3 of these guys. We might move Henry Anderson over to the left end for this season and see what Tuttle and Deshaun Williams can do. That's kind of what we're looking at. But Derek Brown is the anchor for the team. Left outside linebacker. Now, look, we don't have speed here. So they've got 79, 78 speed. We'll probably keep the rookie there. But this guy is potential trade fodder. He's got a $3 million penalty. But we may trade him. Or we move him. 79. Yeah, we may trade him. I don't like that speed. He's not fast enough for what we like to do. Let me see what his coverage is like. Frankie Louvu, 62 zone coverage and 51 man coverage. Yeah, this is not the guy that we want. So we'll probably look to move Frankie, especially since he's got 4 years on his contract. Definitely a trade target as we move things around. We talked about Camus. Or did we? Did we talk about him? No, we didn't talk about him. He's 69 overall, but I like him all the same. He's got decent speed with 88, and he's got good coverage. I think if he's in the game and he can fly around the field, he's got that 65 zone coverage, the 62 man coverage. Again, the type of linebacker that we want is the coverage linebacker. So he's someone we're going to stick with, even though he's got the 69. But everyone else, we've got to stick with him because we're thin at linebacker. But again, we may move the strong safety when we get there to the linebacker position. We may move him to, and if we do, then as a matter of fact, we're not going to keep. We're not going to keep Chris Orr. He's got to go. Chris Orr is out of here. So yeah, we got to do something with middle linebacker. Right outside linebacker, we talked about Shaq Thompson. Brandon Smith, again, another fast receiver who is a rookie who hopefully is decent on coverage. Yeah, he's got 64 on zone coverage, 64 on man coverage. Again, coverage linebackers is what we want. So we like that. Dante Johnson, we talked about Jackson. We talked about him. J.C. Horn, we talked about him. But Eric Rowe is a decent player, 88. And C.J. Henderson, again, good young players. We may go ahead and play Henderson instead of Rowe to go ahead and get him in the game. Like the speed on Henderson, like the height on Henderson. And we may need to just go ahead and get him in the game. So it may end up being Jackson, J.C. Horn, Henderson, and Rowe to start out the cornerback situation. Xavier Woods is a decent player, 5 years left on his contract, and he's just going to have to fill that role. We may be looking to do something at free safety, but nothing pressing there. And then, like we mentioned before, Von Bell may be moved to middle linebacker and making room for Jeremy Chin to be the starter here and sort of rounding out the linebacker position. Not an amazing kicker in Eddie Pinheiro, and not an amazing punter in Johnny Hecker, but we will do what we do to make that work. And that wraps up the position by position conversation for the Panthers. Quick look at our draft situation, our draft pick situation. Well, we've traded a lot of our picks, and so this offseason we don't have a 1, 2, 3, or 5. We only have 4, 6, and 7. It looks a little funky here with the 2024 7th round. I had to make this trade with Chicago in order to properly deal with the first and second round pick that we gave up for the first round this year. So that is what that is. And so I don't mind the 7th round being there. It's not that big a deal. But we do not have a strong draft opportunity unless we figure out how to make some trades to get up into the 1st and 2nd rounds. We don't have a lot of pieces on our team that would really be able to do that. We have a few pieces, but I don't know that there's anything that's going to take us to the 1st round or something as a 1st round pick, unless we include the 1st round for next year to try to get into this year's 1st round, which we may give a try. But overall, the draft situation could be a little tough. Let's take a look at some of the salaries. This team is not in bad shape money-wise. $68.7 million cap space. And this year's salary cap hit, the biggest hit is Shaq Thompson, the middle linebacker, and then the right tackle. If you remember, Thompson's only rated 84, and Madden is rated 84 as well. And so these players are very expensive for their rating. But I think Shaq is going to be a very important player for us. We may move him to the middle linebacker position. We're gonna work on our linebacker scenario. And once we get into the regular season, you guys will be able to see what we do with the linebacker situations. The next thing is Mr. Hurst, and so looks like we're going to be having to hit him. But overall, we really are not in bad shape. We really are not in bad shape. We probably have. Let's see. What do we have? Any really bad contracts? I don't think we have any really terrible contracts. Maybe Equinu with $27 million for a 77 overall. That might be a little too much, but he's a rookie player who we drafted and need at the left tackle position. He's the only one there, and so we may have to go ahead and eat that. But everything else, not too bad. I don't think we really run into a whole lot of problems. So they've given us a chance with the money to be able to build through free agency in the offseason and work on building this team. As far as years remaining and players that we have to really worry about at the end of this season, looks like the middle linebacker, Krugel, who it may be expendable by the time we get through messing with the linebacker scenarios. He's up for DJ Chark. We talked about hopefully is going to have a really great season, but we really want to try to develop some of the younger receivers after him. So, if they develop, we may not need Chark, although I do like his speed. Eric Rowe is a guy, but he's could be someone that we are interested in really bringing back. He's 29. He may end up being someone that we trade, but who knows? Sam Franklin, we're not worried about. Russian Blackshear, we're not worried about him. Bird, we're looking at trading anyway. Ricky, okay, we might need a fullback. We may draft a fullback. Sam Chandler, we probably need him, and if we can get him for cheap, then we may keep him. And then Justin McRae, Anderson, but no players here that really look like that's going to put us in trouble. So once again, a safe year for us with contracts. No key players really are looking to leave the team, and that makes it prime for rebuilding the roster. So not bad from the salary front. And then finally, let's just take a look at the schedule. Take a look at the schedule that we have for this season. We've got the Browns, we got the Giants that we play this year. We've got the Saints. Of course, we have the Saints, the Cardinals. So probably tough games. Tough games are probably going to be the Saints in week 3. Actually, all these games will be tough, but the toughest opponents, the Giants are pretty good too. 49ers are good. The Bengals are going to be a tough game. The Ravens will be tough. Broncos could be tough. I don't know. Well, I don't know. No, the Broncos won't be. Who's quarterback over in the Bronco land? I can't even remember. Seahawks will probably be tough. Steelers. So this is a serviceable. If I'm looking through here, this is the Browns are probably an L just because it's the first week and we're learning how to play. The Giants could be an L as well. Saints could be an L. We could very well start 0-3. We could start 0-3. I think we might be able to get a W with the Cardinals. That's one win. 49ers will probably get an L. The Rams, I'm going to say a W. Bucks, I'll say a W. That's 3 wins. Falcons, 4 wins. That's probably a loss, 5. I mean, that's not 5. So it's a loss. This Falcons is 5. This is probably a loss. Broncos, 50-50. Probably a loss. Probably a loss. Probably a loss. 6. So 6 or 7 wins, I think, is what I can expect from this team. Maybe 6 or 7 wins is what will deliver for us. Yeah, 6 or 7 wins. Let's take a look at some of the franchise settings. Let's look at the league settings just so you guys can see what we've got here. So we did move to all Madden. I'm going to play on all Madden this year, simulation style. The rest of this is pretty standard. You can stop and look at this if you like. But we are going to go and play 9-minute quarters. Last season we played 8-minute quarters. 9 minutes allows us not to kill the clock completely in the fourth quarter if we needed to play that out. So we're going to try 9 minutes and see if it doesn't make everything crazy. Accelerated clock is on. We may drop this a little bit. Let's drop it to 17 just to kind of speed things up a little bit. And then there's the rest of that. That's pretty normal. We are using the Mat 10 version 10 sliders. And so if we look at the gameplay sliders, this is what we're playing with. Again, they didn't do a whole lot. A lot of 50 out of 100 for player skill. Nothing really changes until you get down to injuries. And I mess with these a little bit just to kind of create some chaos. So offside, which we hardly ever get, I moved that up just a smidge to see how that's going to work. And false start, I moved up just a smidge as well. But the rest of this stuff is straight out of the sliders that we have. In fact, if I never mind. This is the slide. These are the sliders that we have. Okay, so there we go. 40, 51 fumble, 70 interceptions of 25. So yeah. So these are pass defense reaction time. So these are the sliders that they have. I am going to come down to offside. Like I said, move these up just a little bit just to create a little chaos for both teams. I'm not really worried about holding. We do get that call. So every once in a while, let's get a little face mask. I don't mind any of those things. So that's a look at the sliders. Sorry, the first set was not the right set. This is the sliders that we'll be playing with on all Madden. And that's going to do it for this preview. So the Carolina Panthers, we're going to go through the preseason. We'll probably play all 3 of the preseason games. We'll play them, and we'll probably bring a highlight reel from all 3 of the games, sort of highlighting which players are going to make the case for themselves. And then if we do make any trades or anything like that, we will also take a look at the trades and see what happens. Again, we're here at the beginning of the preseason, so as we move through the preseason, we'll kind of keep an eye on some of the league transactions and bring to you guys some of the more interesting things that will transpire. But that's going to do it again. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and for checking out the video. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And stay tuned for a recap of the preseason and the week 1 of this Panthers franchise. Can't wait to get started. But until we do, this is Pastors Game 2. God loves you, and so do I. And I will see you when I see you. Peace.